There is a river that flows through everything. You do not see it, but you feel it when you're quiet. It doesn't scream, doesn't demand, it doesn't force. It whispers through intuition, through dreams, through moments of stillness when the world isn't pulling at your sleeves. This river is source, and its current is love. Its direction is forward. And its only requirement is surrender. You were never asked to fight the current. That was taught to you by fear, by ego, by those who believe struggle was strength and control was safety. But the truth is, the flow of source is the natural order of all things. Trees don't force their roots. Stars don't resist the night. And yet here we are, clenching our fists in a universe that only responds to open hands. Resistance is not strength, it is separation. It is the mind building dams where there were once infinite paths. And the more you resist, the further you drift from who you really are. Your essence, your soul, was meant to flow. And until you release the tension, you will never feel the peace you came here to remember. The Tao teaches us that water yields to everything, yet carves through mountains. It is soft, yet it reshapes the earth. That is the power of alignment with Source. That is the power of letting go. Most people are exhausted not because life is hard, but because they are resisting what already wants to happen. They are saying no when the universe is offering yes. They are holding on when their healing begins in release. They are bracing against the tide that could be carrying them toward everything they've ever asked for if only they'd stop swimming upstream. Think about it. Where in your life are you clenching? Where in your mind are you forcing, fixing, manipulating? These are not places of power, they are symptoms of fear. And fear is the great block to Source. Not because Source punishes fear, but because Source cannot flow through what is shut. You are not here to manage the universe. You are here to be in harmony with it. And harmony begins the moment you stop resisting what is and start trusting what is becoming. The ego says, I must control or I will lose. But the soul says, I let go and I become. The ego builds walls. The soul becomes space. And in that sacred space, healing begins. Miracles begin. Energy, divine, vibrant, intelligent energy rushes in where you no longer push it away. So I ask you, softly but directly, what are you resisting right now? Are you resisting change because it feels uncertain? Are you resisting forgiveness because your pain feels righteous? Are you resisting love because you fear you are not enough? All resistance is a fear in disguise. And fear, my friend, is the mind's illusion that it is separate from the source that created it. But you are not separate. You never were. You are not the wave pretending it has to prove itself. You are the ocean in motion. You are a note being played by the infinite composer of all that island. And the moment you release the resistance, you become music again. Let us go deeper. When you hold resentment, you build a wall between yourself and the light. Not because the light has left you, but because you've turned your back to it. Forgiveness is not a gift to the one who hurt you. It is a dissolving of the dam you built with your pain. It is a return to flow. It is a return to peace. When you grip your identity too tightly, who you think you are, what they said you should be, what the world told you success looks like, you resist your own expansion. You are not a label. You are not your history. You are not your wounds. You are a soul having a momentary experience in form, and you are meant to evolve. But how can the wind change your direction if you refuse to lift your sail? The universe is not judging you. It's waiting for your yes to flow, your yes to healing, your yes to remembering. Remembering what? That you are not the pain you've carried. You are not the fear you believed. You are not the voice in your head that says you're not ready yet. You are the sky watching the clouds come and go. You are the silence underneath the noise. You are the stillness the storm cannot touch. And Source, that divine, intelligent, ever-present field of creation, flows not where you force, but where you open. There is a point in every life where the weight of striving becomes heavier than the fear of surrender. When the armor begins to crack, not from failure, but from grace patiently knocking at the door. And it is in that crack, that sacred fracture in the illusion where the light gets in. You were never meant to carry the whole world on your shoulders. That is a myth written by a mind afraid to trust. What if I told you that your greatest strength is not found in holding everything together, but in letting something greater hold you? The oak tree does not resist the wind, it leans and returns. The moon does not rage. When the night ends, it recedes and becomes full again. Everything in nature is in a constant state of giving in, and through that yielding, it becomes eternal. So why have we, the most conscious of all creatures, been taught that control is the key to peace? The irony is, peace has never come from control. Peace is the natural state of your being. It is what's left when you stop interfering. It is the melody underneath the mental noise. You don't create peace, you uncover it by removing the clutter that conceals it. You were born from stillness, not silence, but stillness, the kind that sings without words, that heals without touch, the kind that says, I am here even when the world isn't looking. That stillness is not outside you, it is you, when you are no longer pretending to be what you are not. You do not need to become enlightened, you need only stop resisting the light that is already within you. Like the sun behind the clouds, your true self has never stopped shining. But the clouds of judgment, expectation, regret, and fear, they have cast shadows, and you mistook those shadows for reality. But you are not your weather, you are the sky, and the sky never resists the storm. What would happen if you stopped trying to force answers and allowed the question to breathe for a while? What if instead of chasing clarity, you allowed uncertainty to be a sacred teacher? Life is not withholding clarity from you, it is waiting for your presence, not your plans, not your strategies, your presence. And presence cannot coexist with resistance. When you resist, you tighten. And in that tightness, you miss the miracle of the moment. You miss the bird outside your window carrying a message you didn't hear. You miss the stranger's smile that was meant to remind you you're not alone. You miss the voice of your own soul whispering, come home. You don't need to fight for your worth. You were worthy before you were born. You don't need to force your path. The path unfolds when the traveler becomes still. You don't need to defend your truth. It will speak through your being when you stop shouting over its silence. Have you noticed the more you try to control how others see you, the more invisible you feel? That's because the soul is not here to be seen, it is here to see. And what it longs to see most is you unguarded, untangled, and unresisting. There is no external situation that can imprison a liberated inner world. True freedom begins not when circumstances change, but when your response to them comes from love instead of fear. When you stop demanding life to be a certain way and instead align with the deeper wisdom of what island, you are not the sculptor of the universe. You are the sculpture being revealed, chipped away, not by punishment, but by truth, by grace, by surrender. And when you release resistance, the carving becomes gentle. The storm becomes a baptism. The breakdown becomes a sacred invitation. And suddenly life is no longer something you survive, it's something you remember. You remember how to feel, how to breathe without bracing, how to walk without rushing, how to love without guarding. You remember that what you were seeking was never outside of you. It was the space that opened when you stopped clenching. It was the peace that arrived when you said, I don't need to understand this to trust it. There are no accidents in this moment. These words are not coming to you by chance. They are a mirror, a reflection, a reminder that you are not lost, only covered. Covered by layers of doing, proving, pushing, but under all of that is your truth, your light, your flow. And source, it never left you. It simply waited for the moment when you'd say, enough, I'm ready to stop resisting. I'm ready to be carried. You were never asked to be perfect, only present, only open, only willing to meet life without the armor of old stories and the shields of past pain. Perfection is an illusion that keeps the soul in exile. But presence, oh presence, is a sacred bridge home. When you are present, even your pain becomes a teacher. Even your doubt becomes a doorway. Even your tears become sacred water, cleansing the illusions that told you something was wrong with you. But nothing has ever been wrong with you. The wound was never your identity, it was your invitation. You see, resistance doesn't just keep joy out, it keeps wisdom in. And your soul holds lifetimes of wisdom, lifetimes of knowing how to rise, how to heal, how to love without holding back. That wisdom is not in your past, it is in your now. It becomes available the moment you soften, the moment you stop saying not yet and begin saying I am here. You are not behind, you are not late, you are exactly where your healing can find you. And when you stop resisting where you are, you become available for where you are meant to go. Most people are addicted to progress because they believe movement is healing. But true healing is stillness. It is rest. It is surrender. It is the quiet bravery of not knowing and being okay with that. You don't need another plan. You don't need another map. You need to put your ear to the chest of this moment and listen for the heartbeat of God within it. You need to feel your breath, not analyze it. You need to trust your feet, not question every step. The energy of Source cannot be summoned by effort. It is summoned by allowing. The same way flowers do not bloom by pushing, they bloom by being in alignment with the sun. And you bloom when you stop blocking the light. The pain you carry is not yours to fix, it's yours to feel and free. The sadness is not an enemy, it is a passageway. The confusion is not a mistake, it is an initiation. But you must meet these visitors with softness, not resistance. You must be willing to feel without fear, to face without flinching, to fall apart without believing that wholeness is lost. What if falling apart is how wholeness finds its way in? When you no longer resist sadness, it becomes sacred space. When you no longer resist anger, it becomes clarity. When you no longer resist discomfort, it becomes transformation. It is not the emotion that blocks you, it is the judgment that you shouldn't feel it. Let it move through you like rain through branches. Let it pass like wind through an open window. You are not the storm, you are the house still standing after all the weather passes. You don't need to be brave in the old way, the way that says don't cry, don't break, don't feel. You need to be brave in the new way, the way that says I will open even here, I will trust even now, I will soften even when it hurts. Because the more you open, the more Source flows. And the more it flows, the more you remember not who the world told you to be, but who you were before the world had a name for you. You remember your divine design. You remember that you are not the builder, you are the cathedral being built by love itself. All of life is trying to return you to that place, that sacred inner space where resistance ends and remembrance begins, where striving ceases and surrender blooms, where you no longer need to chase the light because you've realized you are the light. And now, I invite you to breathe, not shallow, not distracted, but deeply, with reverence, with awareness, with love. This breath, this one, is the doorway. It is the bridge from fear to freedom, from resistance to flow, from self to Source. This is the beginning of coming home. There is a quiet revolution that happens inside you the moment you stop resisting your own truth. It's not loud. It doesn't come with fireworks or thunder. It arrives in stillness in the holy space between breaths and whispers. You are safe now to return to yourself. And when you do, the world outside doesn't need to change. The war is over not because peace has been negotiated in the outer world, but because peace has been chosen in your inner one. This is where the healing lives. Not in the chase, not in the outcome, but in the sacred act of saying, I will no longer fight what I feel. I will no longer brace against my becoming. I will let the current carry me instead of fearing the river, because the river knows where it's going. It always has. It is your mind that forgot, but your soul remembers the way. You were never designed to live in fear. That was borrowed, passed down, absorbed, learned. But your natural state is trust. Your natural state is openness. Your natural state is surrender, not in weakness, but in sacred alignment. Alignment with the rhythm of the stars, the turning of the tides, the breath of the earth, the pulsing intelligence that speaks through every blade of grass and every beat of your heart. When you resist, you become blind to that rhythm. You disconnect. And in that disconnection, you suffer not because you've been punished, but because you've been pulled away from your source. Like a violin string pulled too tight, resistance causes dissonance. But loosen the grip, and music returns. Let life play you like the instrument you are tuned by presence, guided by faith, moved by something larger than logic. The truth is, you do not need more control. You need more connection. More moments of letting the sun hit your skin without asking if you deserve it. More times you choose to be in love with life without needing life to give you permission. And to be in love with life is to stop resisting it. Let the moment arrive as it does and meet it with grace. If joy comes, dance with it. If sorrow comes, sit beside it without shame. If confusion visits, listen to it without trying to fix it. Because what you resist persists, but what you welcome transforms. This is not philosophy. This is reality. The energy that flows through you responds to the vibration you hold. If you hold fear, it cannot pass. If you hold judgment, it cannot breathe. If you hold expectation, it cannot surprise you. But if you hold love, even soft, hesitant, trembling love, that energy moves mountains within you. It rewrites your biology. It heals the ache you thought would never leave. It returns you to the current. And when you are in the current, truly in it, the need to strive falls away. You realize you are not behind. You are not broken. You are not late. You are precisely in step with the sacred choreography of your becoming. So much of your pain has come from trying to speed up what was already unfolding in divine time. But your season will come. The bloom cannot be rushed. The sun does not rise because we beg it rises, because that's what it's made to do, and so are you. You are made to rise not by force, but by flow. There's a place inside you that has never known resistance. It's the same place you came from. It's where God lives in you, not above, not beyond, but within. And that place, that holy space, it waits for your return. It waits for your yes to softness, your yes to forgiveness, your yes to the now. And the moment you return, the moment you say, I will stop fighting myself, a stillness fills the room, a warmth moves through you. Not dramatic, not performative, but real, grounded. A kind of peace that doesn't depend on anything outside you changing, because you've changed. You've stopped demanding the ocean be still and instead learned how to float. You've stopped yelling at the sky and instead learned to listen to the wind. You've stopped asking life to make sense and instead learned to trust its mystery. That is freedom. And freedom isn't the absence of pain, it's the absence of resistance to pain. It's the willingness to be exactly where you are while knowing you are not staying there. It's choosing to open your heart in a world that taught you to close it. It's daring to receive love in the very places you once blocked it. You see, the source never stops flowing. Only our fear stops receiving. But fear is not your enemy, it is your signal. It is the knock at the door that says, there is something here that wants to be freed. Let go now. Let go. And you will see what has always been waiting for you. The current doesn't just carry you forward, it carries you home. When you begin to live in alignment with Source, you stop needing proof. You no longer wait for the world to give you permission to trust. You stop bargaining with the universe like a hesitant guest and begin walking as a child of the divine, certain, not because you understand everything, but because you feel it in your soul. The mind will ask for signs. The ego will crave guarantees. But your spirit recognizes resonance. It knows truth, not by logic, but by how deeply peace settles in your chest when you hear it. And here is the truth. Resistance is the voice of separation, but surrender is the song of union. Union with the divine, union with the present, union with the self. And when you stop resisting, you begin to see, not with your eyes, but with your essence. You begin to see the sacred pattern beneath what once felt like chaos. You begin to understand that nothing was ever against you. Not the delay, not the loss, not even the heartbreak. Each of them was a thread in the tapestry, weaving you back to this moment, this breath, this awareness. Awareness is the portal. It is the beginning of return. And in awareness, there is no resistance, only recognition. Recognition of how long you've been fighting what was never meant to be fought. Recognition of how long you've tried to manage a mystery that only ever asked you to dance with it. There is nothing left to conquer. There is only something left to remember. And what you are remembering now, even as these words enter the sacred quiet of your mind, is that you never had to earn your way back to peace. You only had to stop leaving it. Every time you tried to make your worth conditional, you left. Every time you believed your value was in your performance, you left. Every time you said, I'll love myself, when you walked away from the present moment, which was always trying to love you first. But the beauty is, peace waits. Peace does not punish you for leaving. It simply opens its arms again when you return. That is the mercy of the universe. That is the grace of Source. It doesn't demand that you deserve it. It asks only that you stop resisting it. And maybe now you're ready to stop running. Maybe now you're ready to put the sword down, not in defeat, but in reverence. Because you finally understand the battle was never with life, it was with your belief that you had to battle at all. Let your shoulders drop. Let your breath deepen. Let your mind soften its grip. This is how you come back into alignment. Not by willpower, not by discipline, but by presence, by listening, by trusting the whisper that says, you are enough, even here, especially here. What if all the things you've been waiting for, the clarity, the relief, the opening, have been waiting for you to stop waiting? You are not the delay. You are not the confusion. You are not the brokenness. You are the still point beneath it, the watcher, the witness, the one who can choose again. And now you are choosing. You are choosing to no longer be the resistor, but the receiver. You are choosing to let Source write its story through your willingness. You are choosing to be led by something that cannot be mapped, but can always be trusted. There is a rhythm to surrender, a cadence, a sacred choreography that only reveals itself once your resistance dissolves. And when it does, when you are finally in step with that invisible current, life begins to move differently. You speak, and life echoes with affirmation. You act, and grace rushes in to meet you. You rest, and abundance continues flowing because it no longer depends on your striving. This is not magic, this is alignment. This is not fantasy, this is the natural state of a soul no longer at war with itself. And so you surrender not as a giving up, but as a rising up, as a return to the effortless, as a rejoining with the source that made you from its own wholeness. Can you feel it? The softening, the unraveling, the light returning to the places you abandoned. This is what it means to end resistance, not to fix your life, but to finally allow it to move with the wisdom it has always carried. You were never lost. You were only resisting your own light. The soul does not cry for control, it cries for communion. It longs not for guarantees, but for grace. And grace enters the moment you do. Grace is not granted from above, it is remembered from within. It arrives not when you demand it, but when you make space for it. And space is made through the sacred art of non-resistance. What if I told you that everything you have been asking for is already on its way, but it cannot enter the home of a mind that refuses to open its door? You see, when you resist, you delay. Not because the universe is cruel, but because it is precise. It flows only into openness, not perfection, not certainty, not achievement. Just openness, just the willingness to say, I will no longer block what is meant for me by clinging to what no longer island. Most people want change, but resist the ending that comes before it. They pray for new beginnings, but grip the old chapter with white knuckles. But transformation cannot happen where fear holds the pen. You must put the story down to let the next one begin. Letting go is not losing. It is loosening your grip on illusions that kept you stuck. Loosening your identity as the struggler, the fighter, the one who always has to make it work. There is no glory in suffering when suffering is self-imposed. And resistance, dear soul, is the most subtle suffering of all. It masquerades as logic, it dresses itself as protection, but all it really is a wall that keeps out the very thing your heart aches to receive. So how do you end the resistance? You stop asking how. You start saying yes. Yes to the now, yes to the unknown. Yes to the version of you that doesn't have all the answers, but has a heart wide enough to hold mystery. Because mystery is not your enemy, it is your portal into wonder, into discovery, into a relationship with the divine that is alive, not memorized. And that's what the Source wants with you. Not obedience, not performance, but relationship. A dance, a daily return, a willingness to feel, to trust, to open, to weep, to be still, to move without needing to know the destination and still know that it is holy. Can you feel how much life is waiting to meet you in the open space? Not when you finally get it right, not when you finally fix yourself, but now, as you are, because you were never broken, just clenched. And now, you are unclenching. You are letting the river take you, and the river doesn't lead you into destruction. It leads you into deeper knowing. It takes you beyond the surface, beyond the noise, beyond the tight corners of self-protection. It brings you to the wide field of freedom, the kind of freedom that isn't earned, it's remembered. It's who you were before the world told you to tense up, before the world taught you to brace, before you believed that you had to resist to survive. You don't have to survive anymore. You're allowed to live. And living means risking softness, risking vulnerability, risking being seen without the layers. But it also means feeling the breeze again, hearing the music again, becoming a vessel again, not for worry, but for wonder. Because Source, the infinite, the eternal, the all, does not move through tension, it flows through trust. And when you trust, even your confusion becomes sacred. Even your detours become divine. Even your waiting becomes worship. You become a living temple, a walking prayer, not trying to control the flow, but being the flow. And when that shift happens, when resistance ends, life does not become perfect, but it becomes real. And in that reality, there is joy, there is breath, there is alignment. Let it happen now, not tomorrow, not when it's more convenient. Now in this breath, in this moment, in this miracle, you call presence. And so, here you are, no longer standing at the edge of your life, but in it. No longer bracing against the current, but becoming the current. No longer asking when peace will come, but remembering that peace was always here, quietly waiting for your surrender. There is nothing left to resist, not the past, not the unknown, not even yourself. What once felt like struggle now feels like softness. What once demanded answers now invites presence. You no longer need to prove, you only need to be, and in being fully, gently, truthfully, you become the vessel through which Source flows without effort, without interruption, without fear. Let this moment be your return. Return to trust, return to stillness, return to the river within that carries the wisdom of the stars and the warmth of the sun. Return to the knowing that your surrender was never the end of strength, it was the beginning of power. The kind of power that doesn't force, it frees. The kind that doesn't hold on, it opens wide. The kind that doesn't fight the flow, it is the flow. And now you know, Source energy flows where resistance ends. And resistance has ended right here in you.
There comes a moment in every life when the noise begins to fall away, when the chasing, the proving, the pleasing, the reaching outside of ourselves begins to exhaust its own illusion. In that holy pause, when we are finally still enough to hear what's been whispering beneath the surface of all our striving, a truth arises not as a thought but as a knowing, that love is not something you are here to get. It is not something you must earn, chase, convince, or beg for. It is not an external prize handed out to the worthy, nor a transaction to be negotiated with your achievements. It is the breath of your being, the truth of your soul, the presence of what you already are. You were born as love, wrapped in skin, and yet somewhere along the journey in the tangled forests of fear, in the systems that measured value and performance, in the wounds we mistook as identity, we began to forget. We began to believe the great lie, that love is somewhere else, that it is found in others, given only when we're good enough, quiet enough, successful enough, broken enough to be rescued. We traded our essence for approval, we bartered with our worth, and in doing so, we left home without ever leaving the room. But the soul has a memory no story can erase. Deep within you, beyond your name and history and scars, lives an untouched field, vast, timeless, unshakable. This is not the place you go to seek love. It is the place where love already lives. It is what you return to when you stop trying to become what you already are. You don't need to find love, you need to remember it. There is no relationship that can complete what is already whole. There is no amount of affection or validation that can replace the sacred task of reclaiming your true self. When you think love is something outside of you, you will forever be a seeker. But when you awaken to the truth that you are the source, the wellspring, the very expression of love itself, you become not a seeker but a giver. And in giving, you receive. In being, you remember. All spiritual journeys lead us back to this, not to a new belief, but to an inner recognition, to the holy realization that the divine is not just around you, it is within you, as you, and that divine essence is love. Not sentiment, not attachment, not romance dressed in expectation, but the deep, ever-present, unconditional presence of being itself. Love is what happens when the ego falls silent. The ego says you must earn it. Love says you already are it. The ego says you are unworthy until proven otherwise. Love says You are sacred simply by existing. The ego seeks to possess, to control, to prove. Love seeks nothing, it simply radiates. And like the sun, it doesn't withhold its light depending on who steps into its warmth. You were never born to be a collector of love, you were born to be a generator of it. Not because the world told you to, but because it is your nature. You don't ask the rose to justify its fragrance, or the ocean to explain its depth. Why then do you believe you must justify your love? Why must you prove your lovability? What story convinced you that your essence needs permission? The answer is simple. You were taught to forget, but today you are remembering. Today you are shedding the costumes of not enoughness. Today you are peeling away the layers of performance, achievement, and fear, and standing naked in the light of truth. The truth that what you were searching for was never gone. It was just buried beneath beliefs that were never yours. You cannot become what you already are. You can only remove what blocks it. So remove it, gently, patiently, unapologetically. Let the layers fall like autumn leaves. Let the masks crumble. Let the false identities dissolve in the warm waters of your own awareness. Every time you release a belief that says you are not love, you make room for the truth to breathe again. And what is the truth? That you are the presence behind the eyes, the silence beneath the noise, the stillness under the storm. You are not the wounds you carry, you are the awareness that sees them with compassion. You are not the body, you are the light animating it. You are not the thoughts, you are the space in which they come and go. And that space, that presence, that essence is love. Real love has no opposite. It is not dependent on reciprocation. It does not rise or fall with circumstance. It is the fabric of the now. It is not something you fall into. It is what rises within you when you fall out of illusion. The ancient mystics knew this. Rumi called it a flame that burns inside you. Jesus spoke of it as the kingdom within. Buddha pointed to the end of suffering through awareness and compassion. They all said the same thing in different words. The treasure is within. And so the question is not, where do I find love? The real question is, what within me is resisting what I already am? The resistance is subtle, but it is there in every moment you diminish your worth, in every thought that tells you love must be earned, in every habit of seeking approval from those who cannot even approve of themselves. It is in the way you speak to yourself when you are alone. It is in the way you compare, compete, and strive to belong to what is not even real. But love does not ask you to fix yourself. It does not demand that you become perfect before it arrives. It only asks that you remove what is not true, that you stop confusing protection with presence, that you stop confusing performance with connection, that you stop confusing fear with love. You are not here to chase love, you are here to return to it. It was never about becoming worthy, it was about remembering that you always were. What if today you stopped trying to be lovable and simply allowed yourself to be love? Not love as sentiment, but love as stillness, love as presence, love as deep breath, open hand, and unshakable compassion. Love is the space that lets others be exactly who they are without needing to change them to feel safe. Love is the courage to be vulnerable when your instinct is to protect. Love is the forgiveness that sets you free, not because they deserve it, but because you do. Because when you forgive, you reclaim your peace. When you let go of resentment, you take back your power. When you choose love in the face of fear, you choose alignment with your true self. And your true self is not weak. It is not small. It is not needy. It is the mountain beneath the weather, the sky behind the clouds, the river that flows no matter who tries to dam it. Love is the essence of your being, and nothing can subtract from it, only your belief can veil it. And this is the great spiritual paradox. The moment you stop needing love from the world, you begin radiating it into the world. And in that radiance, the world responds not because you are finally good enough, but because you have become a mirror of what is real. There is no force more magnetic than authenticity. no presence more healing than someone who has remembered who they truly are. To love yourself is not vanity, it is sanity. It is not arrogance, it is alignment. It is not superiority, it is sovereignty. It is to stand in the mirror and say, not I am better, but I am whole. It is to walk into a room not asking, will they love me, but radiating the knowing that I bring love with me. You cannot pour from a cup that is forever empty. So stop handing your cup to others, begging them to fill what only your own soul can offer. The world cannot give you what you refuse to see within. No amount of applause, attention, or affection will substitute for the sacred task of falling in love with your own soul. Not the ego, not the personality, but the soul that has watched you grow, fail, rise, and fall, and loved you through it all. The soul that whispered in the darkness, keep going. The soul that never asked you to be anything but exactly who you are. You are not here to be lovable, you are here to be loved. And that love is not passive, it is not timid, it is not weak, it is fierce, it is forgiving, it is liberating. It is the kind of love that doesn't need a reason to exist, because its existence is reason enough. When you begin to live from that place, everything changes. Not because life becomes easier, but because you become freer. The opinions of others begin to lose their grip. The past loses its chains. The future loses its pressure. And the present becomes enough. Because love doesn't need a different moment to shine. It only needs your permission to show up now. In this breath, in this moment, in this choice. And this is the greatest power you will ever know. The power to love without condition, without exception, and without delay. Not because the world made it easy, but because your soul made it necessary. The most courageous act is not to change the world, it is to refuse to let the world change the truth of who you are. And who you are is love. You are the temple and the light within it. You are the seeker and the sought. You are the question and the answer. And when you finally stop looking for love, you begin seeing it everywhere, in the eyes of a stranger, in the warmth of the sun, in the silence of your own breath. You begin to realize that you were never missing anything, only misplacing your attention. You were never incomplete, only convinced you were. You were never separate, only asleep to your unity. And now you are waking up, not becoming something new, but unbecoming everything false. You are not a person looking for love. You are the love that life has taken the shape of. And this love, your love, is not a currency to be traded. It is not a trophy to be won. It is not a role to be played. It is your birthright. Your name may change. Your roles may shift. Your body may age. But this truth will never change. Love is what you are. And when the mind quiets and the ego softens and the heart opens, you will know you never had to earn it. You only had to allow it. And when you allow it, truly allow it, you become something the world cannot define. You become presence without pretense, power without force, joy without condition. You become untouchable by the lesser illusions of fear, not because you escape the human experience, but because you remember the divine truth within it. You no longer need to be right, to win, to impress, to fix, to chase, because love has no agenda. Love just is. It is not concerned with being recognized, validated, or rewarded. It is content in its own existence, like a flame that doesn't need applause to burn. And when you live from that space, you carry a light that cannot be extinguished by rejection, betrayal, or silence. Because the light does not depend on the world's switch, it shines from within you. And this, dear soul, is where your freedom begins. In choosing to be loved even when no one else remembers what that means. In choosing to respond with grace even when others forget their own. In choosing to stand as peace even when the world trembles in fear. You are not here to get love from people, you are here to bring love to people. You are not here to find the perfect partner, you are here to become the one who loves without needing to possess. You are not here to fix the broken, you are here to see the wholeness beneath the wounds. You are not here to gather approval. You are here to approve of yourself so fully that others begin to remember how to do the same. When you love from the soul, there is no lack. There is no fear of not having enough to give, because the soul doesn't give love like a commodity. It radiates it like a sun, unconcerned with how many bask in its light, unattached to whether others understand. It simply shines. And you were born to shine, not for praise, not for recognition, not even for purpose, but because it is your nature. And anything that denies that radiance, be it a thought, a story, a belief, is not your truth. It is a program, a misinterpretation, a moment of forgetfulness. So remember now, remember who you are beneath the noise, beneath the wounds, beneath the stories handed to you by a world that profits from your disconnection. You are not a stranger to love. You are not separate from it. You are its vessel, its voice, its expression. You are love, dressed as a human for a little while. And what a sacred costume it is. Your body temporary, your mind evolving, your roles shifting, but your essence eternal. And that essence is not lonely. It is not insecure. It is not lacking. It is vast. It is complete. It is radiant. And it has been waiting patiently for you to stop seeking what cannot be found outside yourself. The moment you stop waiting to be loved is the moment you stop delaying your awakening. You do not need to earn the right to be what you already are. You do not need someone else to love you before you allow yourself to love you. You do not need permission to embody the truth of your soul. You only need willingness. The willingness to look inward, to feel fully, to trust the quiet wisdom that whispers, you are already home. And when you begin to trust that voice, when you allow it to guide your choices, your presence, your words, you become a sanctuary, a walking temple, a place where others can rest without judgment, where pain can dissolve in presence, where fear can melt in the warmth of unconditionality. You become an invitation not for people to love you, but to remember that they are loved too. Because the world does not need more people seeking love. It needs more people being it, being the hand that reaches out without agenda, being the smile that sees beyond the mask, being the stillness that doesn't rush to fix, but knows how to hold. This is the path of true power, not domination, not control, not status, but presence. A love so rooted in the divine that it does not waver with circumstance. A love that flows through you, not because you try to create it, but because you finally stop blocking it. Let the blocks dissolve. Let the fear be felt and released. Let the old stories fall away like clothes that no longer fit the being you have become. You are not broken, you are buried beneath years of pretending, performing, pleasing, beneath guilt and shame and not enoughness. But the soul is untouched. The soul cannot be broken. It can only be forgotten. And in this moment, you are remembering. You are remembering the sacred truth that has always lived in the quiet center of your being. The truth that nothing needs to be added to you, only revealed. That what you are is not a construction, but a discovery. And what you are in your most unguarded, unconditioned form is love. You are not the love you were taught. You are not the love you were withheld. You are not the love you were told must be earned through silence, sacrifice, or suffering. You are the love that existed before those conditions were introduced. The love that was present before anyone ever told you what you had to become. Breathe into that, not as a concept, but as a returning. Close your eyes, if only inwardly, and feel it. That deep, formless presence that does not need definition, that does not ask you to strive, that does not shift with approval or disappear when you feel alone. Feel that stillness, that space, that gentle, expansive awareness that watches it all, the thoughts, the emotions, the patterns, but is not bound by them. That is you. That is your home. That is love. And the more you return to it, the less you need the world to mirror it for you, the less you need people to show up in ways they never learned, the less you rely on conditions being just right in order to feel peace. Because you have anchored your worth in what is unshakable, in what cannot be taken, in what is yours by nature, not negotiation. This is the deepest healing. When you stop asking for love and begin embodying it. When you stop seeking peace and realize you are the one who brings it. When you stop waiting for someone to see you and begin looking at yourself with the eyes of the divine. You are not here to convince others of your value. You are here to remember that your value is intrinsic and to live accordingly. You are here to release the identity built on what others failed to give you. You are here to shed the weight of proving, of pleasing, of pretending. You are here to walk as a soul, not as a mask. You are here to be what you came from, not the fear of it, but the fullness of it. The great spiritual teachers all pointed to this. They didn't ask us to become something different. They asked us to remember what was already true. When Jesus said, "You are the light of the world," he wasn't asking you to earn your light, he was reminding you of it. When Rumi wrote, "You were born with wings, why prefer to crawl through life?" He wasn't asking you to grow wings, he was reminding you that you already had them. When the Buddha said, "Peace comes from within, do not seek it without," he wasn't denying the beauty of the world. He was pointing to the source of your power. And your power, dear soul, has never been in getting love. It has always been in knowing that you are love. And that when you live from that knowing, your very presence becomes transformational. Not because you fix others, but because you no longer abandon yourself. Not because you get everything you want, but because you finally stop betraying what you are. This is the highest expression of love, not needing, not clinging, not changing anyone to feel safe, but being a space where truth can breathe, where your soul can rest, where your heart can stay open even when it would be easier to close. This does not mean you become passive. It does not mean you allow harm or stay silent in the face of untruth. Real love is not weak. It is the greatest force on earth. It forgives, but it also protects. It accepts, but it also speaks with clarity. It surrenders, but it never forgets its value. To be love is not to be small, it is to be vast. To be love is not to be silent, it is to speak from presence, not fear. To be love is not to be less, it is to be whole. And when you live from wholeness, everything changes, not always outside, but always within. You begin to live aligned with your soul's knowing, aligned with what is real, aligned with a peace that cannot be explained, only experienced. And that experience begins right now. Not tomorrow, not when you have it all figured out, not when others change, but here, in this sacred moment of awareness, in this breath, in this choice to believe in the deeper truth rather than the louder story. You are love. And that is not poetic fluff. That is the most radical, revolutionary, spiritual statement you will ever claim. Because when you know that not just intellectually, but viscerally you are free. Free from needing the world to be different. Free from waiting on someone else to tell you what you already know. Free from the lie that you must chase what you already are. This is not about self-help. This is about soul remembrance. This is not about improving yourself to become lovable. This is about remembering that your soul was carved from love itself and that no amount of forgetting can change its shape. You are not missing anything. You are simply rediscovering everything. And as you rediscover everything, not through force, but through surrender, you begin to move through life differently. Not as someone in search of completion, but as one who walks already whole. You are no longer a beggar for affection, you are the source of warmth. You are no longer trapped in a cycle of proving. You are anchored in truth. You no longer shrink in the face of rejection because you have stopped rejecting yourself. This is what happens when you come home to love, not love as a transaction, but love as your truth. Love as stillness that listens instead of defending. Love as clarity that speaks instead of blaming. Love as presence that holds instead of fixing. Love as boundaries born not of anger, but of respect for the divine within you. Because being loved does not mean you accept anything less than what honors your spirit. It means you no longer dishonor yourself in order to be accepted. You begin to see that love has never been about what you get, but about what you give, not because you are empty, but because you are full. And from that fullness, you offer kindness without expectation. You offer compassion without control. You offer your presence without performance. You give not to get, but because giving is the natural expression of what you are. When a flower blooms, it does not demand the sun to thank it. When the ocean moves, it does not ask the shore to approve. And when you love, truly love, you do not need others to reflect it back in order for it to be real. It is real because it flows from within you. And what flows from within cannot be taken from without. Let that truth sink in. Let it melt the parts of you that still believe you are waiting for someone or something to finally prove you are enough. You are not waiting for love, you are waking up to it. It's been here all along. It was there in the tears that softened your heart. It was there in the silence that followed heartbreak. It was there in the emptiness that made room for truth. And it is here now in this very breath inviting you to stop resisting your own radiance. You are love, not in metaphor, but in essence. And that love is not a decoration, it is your foundation. It is not an emotion that comes and goes, it is the unchanging backdrop upon which all experience unfolds. Emotions are clouds, stories are weather, but love is the sky. And no matter what storms pass through you, the sky remains. When you stop identifying with the clouds, you remember the sky. And when you live as the sky, vast, open, unbothered, you begin to allow others the freedom to be what they are too. This is love in its purest form, the space that does not cling, the gaze that does not judge, the heart that holds without gripping. And when you offer that kind of space to the world, to yourself, you become a vessel for something far greater than personal gain. You become a lighthouse, a quiet radiance that doesn't chase ships, but simply stands, shining so others may remember their way home. Not by demanding they follow your path, but by living your truth so deeply that it awakens the truth in them. This is your sacred task, not to convince, not to convert, but to embody, to become the living proof that love is not something to be earned, it is what you are. That peace is not something you find, it's what you uncover when you stop hiding behind fear. That wholeness is not built, it is revealed. And all of it begins the moment you stop pretending to be someone you're not. The masks served their purpose. The roles helped you survive. The performance may have protected you once, but they are no longer needed. Now is the time for truth. Now is the time for shedding. Now is the time for returning. Not to something new, but to something ancient. To the you that existed before you were told you had to be someone else. To the you who knew how to love without fear. To the you who knew that being seen was not dangerous, but divine. And as you return, the world around you begins to shift. Not always in dramatic fashion, but subtly, gently, powerfully, because the energy you carry transforms the space you inhabit. And when that energy is rooted in love, real love, unconditional love, soul love, you don't just change your life. You become a permission slip for others to change theirs. Not by force, but by frequency. Not by pressure, but by presence. And it all begins by remembering that love is not something you get. It is what you are. And as you continue to awaken to this truth, not in flashes of insight, but in the quiet constancy of presence, you begin to shed the final remnants of the illusion that love is earned, the illusion that you are incomplete, the illusion that something or someone outside of you holds the key to your peace. You see it now, the chase was never necessary. The reaching was only ever a reflection of forgetting. There is nothing to add to yourself, because love is not a possession. It is not an achievement. It is not a badge you earn from enduring enough pain. It is your origin, your structure, your soundless center. You are love in human form, not trying to become anything, just trying to remember. And now you do remember. You remember not with the mind, but with the soul. Not with words, but with silence. Not with effort, but with surrender. You remember that you were born as a whole note in the divine symphony. That before the world taught you how to perform, how to protect, how to pretend, you were already radiating with the frequency of God, effortless, sacred light. You do not have to go looking anymore. Not for love, not for permission, not for yourself. The search ends here, not because you have found something, but because you have ceased to deny what was never missing. And in that stillness, you rise. You rise not through striving, but through shedding. You rise not by reaching higher, but by sinking deeper into presence, into truth, into the unmoving ground of what you are. And from this grounded place, love no longer feels like something you give. It feels like something you are. Something that walks with you. Not because you try, but because you allow it to walk unhidden. There is no more need to grasp or prove or explain. There is only the quiet revolution of being. Being who you were before you learned fear. Being what you are beneath every scar. Being the breath of the divine in motion, in form, in time. And in that being, in that sacred, unshakable knowing, you become the miracle. You become the one who forgives without forgetting your worth. The one who lets go without closing your heart. The one who can stand alone without feeling abandoned. The one who sees the pain in others without losing your light. You do not retreat, you radiate. You do not chase, you carry. You do not demand, you embody. You are no longer the seeker. You are the presence that was being sought. The temple is no longer hidden, the altar no longer buried. It has always been within you, and now you live there. And you will return there again and again. For the world may forget you, but you will not forget yourself. You will live not from memory, but from awareness. Not from survival, but from alignment. Not from fear, but from the frequency of love that needs no justification to exist. It simply is. And so are you. There is nothing to force, nothing to fix, nothing to prove. You are the sun that shines without permission. The flame that does not wait for wind. The river that flows even when no one sees. You are not here to be understood by everyone. You are here to be true to yourself. To walk in love when the path is unclear. To open your arms when the world closes its fists. To be the stillness in the storm, the breath in the breakdown, the grace in the grief. You are not here to save the world. You are here to stop abandoning your own soul. And in that devotion, in that unwavering return to presence, you become the greatest healing this world can know. You become a mirror of what we all are underneath the noise. Vessels of the same light, made of the same silence, shaped in different forms, but carved from the same sacred source. And when your heart beats from that place, from the knowing that you are not separate from love, but the embodiment of it, there is no longer anything to do. Just to be, just to live from the deep river within. Just to walk slowly, fully, generously, letting each step be a blessing, each breath a benediction, each word a vibration of something truer than thought. Let the world do what it does. Let people come and go. Let time pass like wind through an open hand. But you remain rooted in the one thing that never leaves. The one thing that cannot be destroyed, the one thing that was true before your first breath and will be true beyond your last. You are not waiting for love. You are not earning love. You are not lacking love. You are love. Undeniable, unmistakable, unconditional, unbound. And in this knowing, you are finally, eternally free.